What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in Black Ops Cold War's multiplayer. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering the final tactical rifle, and this is the DMR 14. Now starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, which is 5850. And what this means is it's always going to be a 3-shot kill to the body no matter what, unlike the Type 63, which does drop off to a 4-shot kill. As for headshots, we got a pretty standard multiplier at 1.4, and this takes our headshot damage profile to 8170. What this means is if you want to reduce the number of shots to kill up close, you have to hit both of your shots to the head. It's not like the Type 63 where you could just hit one shot to the body and then one to the head to get a kill. Both of those bullets need to hit the head. As for our rate of fire, our base rate of fire is 400 rounds per minute. However, we do have barrels that will boost our rate of fire potential. With the rapid fire barrel, it's 431 rounds per minute. Strike team is 451 rounds per minute. And then finally, the titanium barrel gives us a rate of fire of 483 rounds per minute. What this means for our time to kill potential is our base time to kill if we aren't using one of those barrels that boost our rate of fire is 300 milliseconds up close or at a distance, because it's always going to be a 3-shot kill to the body. Now 300 milliseconds is a pretty competitive time to kill, but it doesn't stand out as being an amazing time to kill or anything. It's just very good and competitive. Now you can see with the different barrels how your time to kill will decrease depending on the fire rate of those barrels, assuming you can reach that fire rate potential with your trigger finger. And then finally, if we do manage to land 2 headshots in a row, we do get a very fast time to kill potential at just 150 milliseconds. Moving on, let's have a look at our bullet velocity, which is 700 meters per second, which is a very respectable bullet velocity. It's not the fastest in the tactical rifle category, but this is a very good base bullet velocity. Then taking a look at our range values, this isn't super relevant because, like I said, it's a 3-shot kill at any range. However, it is still somewhat important to know where that damage drop-off point is, because beyond that damage drop-off point, that 2-shot kill to the head no longer applies. It's going to be a 3-shot kill no matter what, even if every single bullet hits the head. So it's not super important to know this damage drop-off range, but it can be helpful if you're specifically aiming for those headshots. As for hardcore game modes, there's no surprises here. The DMR 14 is always going to be a 1-shot kill, unless you're shooting through cover or unless they have armor equipped. And this brings us into Hipfire, which is the same as the other tactical rifles, and that is to say it's got a pretty bad Hipfire spread. Unless you're using one of the attachments to improve your Hipfire, generally speaking, you don't want to be trying to Hipfire this gun. It's going to be very random. As for idle sway, on the other hand, it's quite solid on the DMR. There's very little movement while aiming down sight, so you get great first shot accuracy. And speaking of accuracy, let's have a look at our recoil. As you can see here, it does bounce around a little bit if you're reaching that maximum fire rate. And therefore, I definitely recommend using attachments to improve your recoil, like the Field Agent Grip, for instance. But next up, let's have a look at our handling stats. Our aim down sight time is 325 milliseconds, which isn't too bad for a DMR. And our stated sprint out time is 400 milliseconds. However, our experienced sprint out time in game is actually 300 milliseconds, which is a little on the slow side, but this isn't the type of gun where sprint to fire time should really matter all that much. As for our reload add time, it's 1.9 seconds, which isn't great, but it's also not that bad. And then you can see all of the different magazine attachments and what they do to your reload add time. I would say on this gun, these are purely optional. They're a nice bonus, but they're not really required to maximize the effectiveness of this gun. And finally, for base stats, let's have a look at our movement speeds, which are all exactly the same as the Type 63. We've got a 95% base movement speed, our sprint movement speed is pretty solid, and our aim walking movement speed is pretty bad. So really, no surprises in this area. Now, just a quick recap of the strengths and weaknesses of this gun. The strengths are, it's got a consistent 3-shot kill no matter what the range is. It's just going to be a 3-shot kill to the body, which is nice. Also, it's pretty spammable. It's got a pretty decent fire rate, especially with the titanium barrel. You've got a solid fire rate if you've got a good trigger finger, and that's something that a lot of people with a good trigger finger will like. And then finally, it actually has the best base aim down sight time in the tactical rifle category, so it's a little bit snappier than the Type 63, for instance. As for the weaknesses, though, compared to the Type 63, the headshots just aren't very good on this gun. You have to hit both shots to the head to get a kill, whereas the Type 63 only requires 1 shot to the body and 1 shot to the head. So that is considered a downside. Also, it's not quite as accurate as the Type 63. There's a little bit more recoil and bounce. It's not like there's a ton of recoil, especially when you have the right attachments on, but there is some recoil you have to prepare for. And then finally, just like with all of the tactical rifles, the Hipfire just sucks with this gun. Now finally, before we get into some great attachment combinations, I did want to cover the unique barrel attachment, and this is the Task Force barrel. Now with the Task Force barrel, this boosts our base damage up to 7262, which still means it's going to be a 3-shot kill to the body no matter what the range is. However, this also boosts our headshot profile to 186. What this means now, if you are using the task force barrel, is you can now just get one shot to the body and one shot to the head, at least within its maximum damage range, and you will be able to get a kill. Additionally, this significantly boosts our bullet velocity and it doubles our damage range, so it's going to be hard to even get into the minimum damage range anyway, and therefore in most of your fights, you'll be able to get that 2-shot kill by just hitting one to the body and one to the head. And the only really big downside to this is it increases our recoil, but not by a ton in my experience, and also this can be easily counteracted by using the field agent grip, which helps a lot with this gun. So this is actually one of the rare times where I highly recommend using the task force barrel. Most of the time, the recoil increase isn't worth it, but in this case, it absolutely is if you've got it unlocked and if that's the playstyle you're going for. And with that, it's finally time to hop into a couple great attachment combinations that I like using with the DMR 14. And the first one that I've got for you guys today is using the agency suppressor to help a little bit with our recoil and to keep us off the radar, which is really important. Then we've got the titanium barrel. This one's not using the task force barrel. This one's more about fire rate and aggression, so it's more so designed to be used up close and personal, and mainly just aiming for those body shots. After that, we got the field agent foregrip, which gives us a great recoil pattern. As you can see here, there is very little recoil with this gun, which is excellent. Then we've got the jungle style mag, because this doesn't hurt our aim down sight time at all, but it does give us a pretty quick reload, which is awesome. And then finally, we have the airborne elastic wrap, which gives us an amazing aim down sight time. This thing is super snappy, and this allows us to be a very aggressive semi-auto setup. Now with this one, our range value isn't great, but that doesn't really matter because it's always a 3-shot kill to the body, and that's generally what we're going to be going for with this setup. The one thing is our bullet velocity isn't great. That is one of the trade-offs of using the titanium barrel, is you don't get a bullet velocity increase. And therefore, this setup isn't great for those really long-range picks. It's mainly designed for close to mid-range, and that's fine. That's just something you have to know going into this setup. So yeah, that's the first one. This one's mainly designed for people that love using their trigger finger and showing that off a little bit. You do get a great time to kill potential to the body, but you are being held back by that bullet velocity a bit. Now let's have a look at a gunfighter setup using all 8 attachment slots, and this one is incredible if you're willing to use that wild card on this setup. So with this, I've got the mill-stop reflex, but this is really just down to personal preference. You can change the optic out to whatever you'd like. We once again have that agency silencer, which is excellent. Then with this one, we are using that task force barrel, so we get all of those benefits to our bullet velocity, our damage range, and our damage, so we can get that 1 shot to the body, 1 shot to the head for a kill. After that, we've got the 5 milliwatt laser, and this allows us to hip fire up close if we do get into a desperate situation, and it won't be quite as much of a guessing game. Then we've got the field agent foregrip, which let's just have a look at the recoil pattern here, keeping in mind the task force barrel would normally increase our recoil, but we've actually got a very solid recoil pattern, all things considered here. Now once again, we are going to be using that jungle style mag just because there's no downsides to using this and it gives us a nice quick reload time. I don't really feel like you need an extended mag with this gun since you can put people down in literally 2 bullets. So that's why I like going with that one. Then we once again have that airborne elastic wrap for our super snappy aim down sight time. And then finally the Raider stock to help a little bit with our sprint to fire time, but also to help with our aim walking movement speed, which is quite helpful with a DMR. This setup here is just incredible. There are basically no weaknesses to this particular setup. It's good at everything. You can go from sniping people across the map to challenging people within the same room while still being effective in both of those situations. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the DMR 14. As for my thoughts on this gun, I think it's great. I actually enjoy using it a good amount. It's a nice change of pace to be using a DMR instead of just the standard full autos that pretty much everybody else uses. And yeah, there's really not too much else to say here. Of course, though, I am interested in hearing from you guys in the comment section below. What do you guys think about the DMR 14 in Cold War's multiplayer? If you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, including the 2 new guns that we got with Season 2, those are already completed. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.